next story was a similar story to last year, and Dipna and I really wanted to put this next one in, and it's someone that did something amazing from the outset in the first 30 days. Please welcome to stage Jaye. Hello, Jaye. You're a mum of 2 babies?
Yes, that's correct. So they're now 6 and 4.
And you're devoted to them right now?
Yes, obviously. I'm a stay-at-home mum most of the time.
So for you, how did you meet Dipna?
So I didn't actually meet Dipna. I drove to Rockhampton and I met Brad, who's here today. And what he spoke about within 10 minutes was our situation. So we were heavily in debt. We were $1.98 million in debt and negatively geared $67,000. So I know you're sitting there and you're probably doing your maths going, wow, they were on big money. We were bringing in about $100,000 a year with salary. So you do the maths. It was starting to hurt a little bit.
And in that event, Brad asked everyone, you know, who's got 1 property, 2 properties. You had 5 properties. And in your story, I read about what if there was a woman next to you?
Yes. And
she thought, wow, like how amazing you got 5 properties. And you'd like to say something to her.
Yeah, I was sitting there, and as you do before a conference, you sort of, have a little chat, and she was amazing. We were just having a lovely chat. And then Brad was getting us to put our hands up, who's got 1, who's got 2. And yeah, my ego was involved, and I put my hand up for 5, and I just saw this woman, and she kind of deflated, and she kind of just went, oh, and she said to me, oh, I wish I was you. And Brad kept talking, and I didn't get a chance to say to her that it wasn't that great. It was pretty crappy at the time. Can I say that? And,
yeah, you can say shit too.
Good to know. That, yeah, I thought I actually wished that I was her, that I was actually starting with nothing.
Yep. So, and you did have 5 properties, except that they were killing you.
Yeah.
I know what that feels like. So you'd gone off, you'd bought 5 properties, you'd done a few mistakes, and you realised that night.
Yeah.
What were they?
Yeah, so we had moved a lot, and the picture of my daughter, I can actually tell the age of my children by what moving boxes are in the background and what house we're in. So we've done about 20 moves, and I'm a teacher, and my husband's a maintenance planner, so we move a lot. So when we're buying properties, we were usually buying them to live in and buying with our heart, not our head, and then we'd basically have to move, and a lot of the time we were selling and there was absolutely no gain at all. All of our loans were with one bank, pretty much, which was not the best at the time. And they were all purchased in personal names, so we didn't know anything about trusts at the time either, so we were at a bit of a risk as well. We owned an expensive PPR. It was the worst house in a good suburb, but also in the worst street. So there was not a lot we could do with it.
And what was your fear?
Yeah. I don't talk about it a lot. Oh, I knew you'd do this to me.
I didn't do it.
I would talk about it because it kind of puts things into perspective with this, with the portfolio and obviously trying to do things quickly. Oh, thank God I brought a tissue. So March 2015, about a week after I signed up for Dipna, I actually got up in the morning and I fell over and I had a seizure. And then I had another one. And I kept counting until I got to about 12 and then I lost count. And they continued for the next 7 hours. And then I got out of hospital and I went home and I did what the mum thing did and you got dinner and put kids in bed. And then the next day, the same thing happened again. So this continues to be part of our life and it depends if it's a good day or a bad day. Today's a good day. So you're all okay. Touch wood. And but yeah, the hard thing, it's the inconvenience it was, to fall down in a park and kind of have your 6-year-old kick you and say, come on, Mum, get in the car. The worst thing was that my husband had 1 day off work. And a little bit of background on my husband is he's already lost his first wife when they were quite young. So he doesn't want to be going to work, and he was having to go to work to service this massive debt. So he basically wants to be at home, but he can't be. So yeah, it broke my heart seeing him go to work when all he wanted to do was kind of stay home and make sure we had a good day.
So you sign up, you go home, you actually sign up to Quantum.
Yes.
You go home and you tell your husband says to you, well, if you can make your money back in the 30-day guarantee that they give us, you can keep the course.
Yes.
So what do you do?
It took me 2 days to tell my husband. And he was very understanding. But we had done all of the education. We'd done heaps of stuff. We'd always got advice on all these wonderful negatively geared properties. So, yeah. The first thing I did, so in the first 30 days, I basically had to make back the money. So I started with all of Dipner's emails, and when they came through, I actually did her wealth check and did everything on it. So the first thing that we saved money on was we had a PPR that we were renting out. So we basically found out more about that and how we could sell that with obviously not taking any capital gains on that.
So you saved 20 grand in tax capital gains by following the structure,
correct.
yep.
Yes. We also had to look into our insurances with a strategist review, and obviously death and disablement is quite important at this stage, and we were paying for that out of cash flow because I was on unpaid parental leave with the education department. So we were able to look at that and roll some super from my government into a private one to be able to pay those, saving $2,750.
So then you had your negative gearing, you looked at it in a different way?
Yep, so basically we followed Dipner's advice, and we went and got a tax variation done, which made a difference of $900 a month into our pocket for cash flow as well. So I've only taken into account, there was only a few months left of that year, so $3,600 for that.
Yep.
And then we did a tax review as well just before tax time to basically find out if there was anything else we could claim, what we could get money on. And so there was a few different things with that. It was Superco contribution. We found out that we could actually claim the course on tax, and
there's a few other things.
Yeah, there was.
And then your depreciation schedule.
Yes, so this was one that we were told not to worry about. It was a really old property, and we were basically told, oh, don't worry about it. There's no point doing it. But with Dipner's education, it was just saying, no, get it done, get it done. So I thought, okay, I'll just go ahead. And it was, $490. The first year, it resulted in $3,544 returned to us.
So in the first 30 days, and this is what Dipner and I love, in the first 30 days, on your existing portfolio, you've saved $30,000.
That's correct.
It's pretty amazing.
Thank you.
So you've got these properties.
Mm-hmm.
What's this one here?
So this was our PPR that we weren't actually living in. So we had left, we'd been moved from WA to Queensland. And so we were renting it out, and it was very negatively geared. We kind of just looked at it and thought we need to at least neutralise everything very, very quickly. We rang around and found out what the area, we looked into building, we looked into subdivision. It's basically an area that is attracting a lot of families because it can't be subdivided. And the families in that area, they wanted beautiful retained landscape backyards, and they also just wanted nice carpet, nice blinds, and nothing too flash. So we did the backyard. You can see the photos and the retaining that we did, and then we sold that and paid off some debt to neutralise the pain for a little while.
Great. So you took that, paid off some debt.
Yep.
You've then got this property?
Yes. So we had some equity, but we had basically no serviceability, so we used some of that cash. This was a property that we owned as well, and with the education I found out it was a widow splitter block. So I just needed to do a boundary realignment, and I could build 2 townhouses on that. So I started doing all of the paperwork and doing the demolition, and then we got to a stage where we could actually have it revalued, and that's when we were able to gain a loan to get it built. And
with that floor plan there, we spoke this morning with the high-res stuff, the end figures that you'll see, we can add another 15 grand in cash flow to this one. So that's a good deal. And then you've got this one here.
Yeah, so this is one that it's a triplex block, but it's quite an awkward shape as well. So this is our next deal that we're doing, and it was something that when I looked on paper and with all of Dipner's education, it just kept screaming at me that I could do 2 houses with 2 granny flats. But everyone I spoke to basically said it couldn't be done, that I was crazy. And so I started going down the route of possibly doing a triplex and maybe selling 2 and keeping 1 to make a positive cash flow. And I saw on one of the DVDs Helena Farrell, and I thought, yeah, I've got to find her. So I Googled and stalked her in a very nice way and found her, and we sat down in Perth.
She's one of the platinum students, yep.
Yeah, we sat down and had a chat about it, and so that's what we're going through the process of the moment, is renovating the existing house, putting on a granny flat, building another house at the back with another granny flat
So
as
you'll
well.
have 4 rental doors coming out of that property.
Yes, keeping them all, and at this stage it's early feasibility, but it looks like it to be about 32,000 positive geared.
Too bad.
Not too bad.
So you've gone off and you have self-managed super fund. Your husband and yourself have got super. You go and buy this one.
Yep, so with Dipner we set that up. With all of this knowledge, I kind of wanted to have a little bit of a play while everything else was kind of happening in our private portfolio. So this little deal here was in the goldfields, and it had actually sat on the market for a long time. And the real estate agent, when I rang him, actually said that he'd had more inquiries than he'd had hot dinners. It was one that was, I call it a country agreement. There was a couple of guys that had basically built 4 units, and they were all friends. So the strata basically was non-existent, they had no paperwork, and they just had a handshake agreement of how bills were to be paid, and if the car park out the back needed, redoing, they'd all just split the cost 4 ways. So it scared a lot of people off, and it was also quite hard to get finance for. So the tenants were Medicare local, but they didn't even have a current tenancy agreement in place, so we put that into place, and it was purely a paperwork thing on my perspective, and it cost $195, and we're returning $23,000 a year for that one.
It's not bad, isn't it? So you've still got some more in the super fund, so you go out and do another one?
Yep, so then we started looking at what was going to complement our other portfolio, and so we started looking at whether it was going to be student accommodation, and we wanted rural commercial, which we'd already got. So this one was one that was close to Griffith University. It was a 4x4, and when Ian spoke about someone who had ill health and was trying to sell a property, this was one of them. And it was actually 4 bedrooms, but she had 1 bedroom that was full of stuff, and she'd hurt her back, and she couldn't remove it. So that room actually wasn't usable, and so it didn't look fantastic. So we flew down to Brisbane and we hired a truck and we emptied the room, and we also replaced all of the furniture. Speaking to the people that manage it, they get a lot of different tenants in, and the tenants tend to jump around the units when they find better units, nicer, comfier beds, all of those sorts of things. So we purchased it for $160. We spent $3,000 on just basic appliances and putting in not high-end furniture. It's actually, mid-range furniture, as you can see in the picture. The before is at the top with the beautiful cane and glass tables, and then the before, terrible aftershock, but that is the furniture. Each room rents for $180. The carport rents separately for $4 a week, and that's
$4.
I know.
Fantastic.
It's worth it, isn't it? It's positive 19,000 when fully tenanted, and I say fully tenanted because with students you've also got to allow for their holidays. Yep. But at the moment we've actually got 2 doctors in there that work at a nearby hospital, and they're on 12-month contracts.
So that's a positive cash flow, even with the empties in there. So that's good. So for you, there's a few things more important than just the property.
Yeah, obviously, family, and being able to stay at home with the kids and work while I'm well within those pockets of my life, whether it be at night, and still being able to bring in income and feel valuable, be able to do those sorts of things. And also, I think my kids see that real sort of strength, and I'm really encouraging my kids to get into building, and very useful things for me.
So what are your learnings?
Okay, I think definitely the wealth checks at the front. It's so easy to sort of think, oh yeah, I'll do it later. I really want to get stuck into all these beautiful, DVDs, and it can become quite overwhelming. Whereas that initial, all the paperwork that kind of seems a little bit boring puts everything into place, and it just makes it so easy to be able to move forward after you've done all those things.
Should JVs?
JVs, yeah. I had ego involved in that because I obviously thought that I needed to fix all of my issues, and so that's why we immediately tried to we sold our PPR and helped out the situation there. But looking back now, if I'd done some JVs, I probably would have been able to help somebody else with their situation as well, and we both could have benefited from that.
So from when you first started to where you are now, give us a breakdown of...
Yep, so within my first 30 days, I gained the knowledge to pay back the course threefold, and then I've just continued for the next 19 months to turn a negative $67,000 portfolio into a negative $7,700. And in early next year, it'll be positive at least $4,000 when this development's finished.
Well, let's make it 20 because you're going to do something to it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep, 20, that sounds good.
Yep.
And with the self-managed super fund, I've managed to purchase the 2 properties, which are $42,000 a year positively geared. Our portfolio, personal portfolio, is now worth $200,000 more, yet our debt level is less than $450,000 what it originally was. And then this development that will be finished early next year will bring in at least $140,000 profit.
Isn't that amazing?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.